Just to make sure, can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Yep. Cool. Excellent. Make sure you are in a comfortable cross-legged position. If you're sitting on something, make sure it's just the buttocks that are on the support. The backs of the legs should sort of release off. And you can pull the buttocks much back and out to the sides. And then take your hands to the floor, fingertips if you need to, press down. Draw the lower back in, sit at the points of the buttock bones. Let the legs be heavy, the knees, the thighs feel very grounded and heavy. Press the hands down to find lightness and lift in the chest. Feel the rib cage drawing upwards towards the ceiling, but then, as always, drop the shoulders down the back. Feel the tops of the shoulders release slightly down. And keeping the head level over the shoulders, just go ahead and let the backs of the hands rest on the knees or on the thighs. Keep the chin roughly parallel to the floor. And then close your eyes. So as soon as we close our eyes, we lose one of our primary sources of perception. And when that happens, the other senses get stronger. Let your sense of touch increase. Bring your awareness to the surface of the skin. Now there's an expression in particular in Iyengar yoga known as moving from the periphery to the core. So the periphery would be the surface of the skin. So go back to the legs. Relax the surface of the skin of the legs, the thighs, the knees, the skin covering the feet, the shins. But then begin to work inside a little bit. Feel the musculature below the skin begin to soften. And feel as if the musculature itself is sort of softening away from the bones of the legs. And so you feel again this sense of heaviness, this grounding. And then begin to find lightness in the chest. For the most part, the flesh of the upper back chest, the skin, the surface, the periphery of the upper back chest should descend downwards towards the floor, even though more in the area of the core of the chest, the rib cage is drawing upwards. And observe that as you were paying attention to these things, chances are some hardness came to the face, to the forehead. Relax the forehead, the eyebrows, the temples with your eyes closed. Let the gaze go a little bit downwards, towards the nose, towards the floor, away from the brain. So the skin of the face should soften and feel that release, that periphery begin to penetrate towards the core, the musculature underneath the skin of the face, all the way down to the bones. You should feel as if the bones of the face are receding away a little bit from the flesh of the face. And keeping this quietness and this observation of the body, begin to observe the breath without force or strain. Let your inhalations be a little bit more full, exhalations more complete, releasing what Iyengar referred to as the echo breath, or the residual air that tends to lie at the bottom of the lungs. Clarify the lungs more deeply, more intentionally. Now bring the palms together at your chest in prayer. Feel the skin of the outer thumbs going up against the sternum. Use the outer thumbs to encourage the sternum to lift higher. And keeping the front chest lifting, the shoulders descending down, bow the head forwards, surrendering the ego of the mind to the wisdom of the heart. And then release your hands to your thighs. Lift the head with eyes closed. And then open the eyes. So make sure your legs are crossed roughly at the middle of the shins. So sort of subdivide the shins right down the middle and get the feet so they fall below the knees. So instead of sort of the feet going in underneath the thighs, bring the feet so they fall more directly under the knees themselves. So your shins are going to kind of come forward and be more parallel with each other. And then for a moment, take your hands to the floor. Once again, take the lower back in, lift the chest up. Good. Now take your hands forward. If you find this difficult at all, you can get blocks to bring the floor up to your hands. Otherwise, come bring the tips of your fingers to the floor. Press the hands, the tips of the fingers into the floor. Draw the lower back in and begin to just walk the hands a little forward. Press the hands into the floor, take the lower back in, lift the chest and sternum. As you're sort of bending forward, try to draw back from your outer knees back into the hips, as if you're trying to send your hips towards the back of the room as you're extending your chest towards the front of the room. Walk the hands more forwards. Soften the outer hips. This should be a deep opening, a deep stretch of the outer gluteal muscles, the gluteus maximus, medius, and minimus. You should feel that work there. Reach the chest and sternum forward, and then finally look towards the floor. Don't release the head all the way down. Find a neutral place so the face is roughly parallel to the floor. Now, to find a little more extension in the front chest, ask the skin of the shoulders to go down the back. Feel the trapezius, the muscles and the skin of the upper back chest going down the back to release the chest more forwards. And then bring the hands in. Switch the cross of the legs, but place them in that same way where the feet are directly below the knees instead of under the thighs, so that the shins are crossed roughly below, sort of at the middle of the shins, and instead of being more like an X, try to get the shins more parallel with each other. Again, take the hands to the floor, fingertips if you need to, take the lower back in, lift the chest. Keep that lumbar spine drawing in, move the hands forward. If you need to come up on blocks, you can, fingertips is fine, press down. Draw the lower back in, and as you do, pull gently back from the outer knees back into the hips. Get the sacrum again to draw in a little bit and begin to extend the hands forward. And notice, of course, that those outer hips, the gluteal muscles begin to awaken and stretch. Press the hands down. Feel even here that the flesh of the back chest should go down. The shoulders should go down towards the hips. Walk the hands even more forward as you comfortably can. Use the hands for support. Bring the head to a roughly neutral place. So instead of just releasing entirely down, your face should be roughly parallel to the floor. And again, notice that when you get the shoulders, get the flesh of the upper back chest to go down, you'll find more release in the front chest, and you'll find a little more depth in the opening of the hips. And then back on up. Good, extend your legs. Straighten the legs. Have the feet about hip width apart. Take your hands to the floor, fingertips if you need to. You can remain sitting on the support or directly to the floor, depending on the flexibility. Press the hands down, get the legs really straight. As I sometimes ask you to do, point the toes towards your face first. So you really feel the backs of the legs getting longer. Feel like the tops of the calves releasing towards the heels. The back of the knees, the lower knee releasing towards the heels. Press the thighs down, press the heels down, and then, as I often ask, begin to extend through the mounds of the feet. Push the big toe mounds forward. Good. Spread the toes. Try to stretch the skin of the mounds of the feet from the big toe mounds towards the little toe mounds. Roll the inner groins down. Press the thighs down. Take the arms forward for a moment, palms facing each other. Now, draw the outer shoulders back. So you're not closing the front chest. Draw the outer shoulders back so the collarbones remain broad. Keep descending the thighs, in particular the inner thighs, towards the floor as you take the arms up. Press the thighs down. Lift the back ribs towards the ceiling. Lift the chest towards the ceiling. Soften the shoulders again. Keep pressing the thighs into the floor to help you find more engagement and lift in the torso. Good, take the hands down. Separate your legs, nice and wide. Upavista Konasana. Pressing the hands into the floor behind you. If you need to be on fingertips, you can. Again, really straighten out the legs. Reach the heels away from you once again. Get the feeling that the calves are stretching from the top of the calf or the back of the bottom knee. Release that area towards the heels. Press the inner thighs and the groins down. Again, draw the lower back in. Lengthen from your inner groins towards the inner knee, from the inner knee to the inner ankle. And I was talking about this, I think, last week or the week before. Stretch the skin from the bump of the inner ankle to the inner heel. Feel that skin, just that 1.5 inches, 2 inches of skin stretch away from the body. Keep the hands pressing to the floor, keep the chest lifting. Now I ask you to lengthen from the inner groins to the knee to the inner ankle, ankle to the inner heel. Now do the opposite on the outside. So you're sort of drawing back from the outer heel back towards the ankle, from the outer ankle back towards the knee, from the outer knee back into the hip. It's this long extension through the inner leg and long contraction drawing back from the outer foot towards the hip. See if you can sort of turn those words into something that feels real to your legs. Lengthen through the inner groins, getting extended through the inner legs, but then begin to draw back from the outer arch of the foot towards the outer knee towards the hip. Keep doing this again, take the arms forward. Descend the thighs towards the floor, take the arms up, Urdhva Hastasana. Press the inner groins into the floor, lengthen through the inner legs, but contract from the outer arches of the feet towards the buttocks. And notice that if you do this, you might find a little more release in the torso. The legs are working so the spine can find more extension. Good, take the hands down. If you went to the floor and you do have support to sit on, go back to sitting on support. We're going to butterfly pose, Baddha Konasana. For many of us, if you do butterfly pose and your knees are quite high up, you're going to be much better off sitting up because it will actually encourage more release of the groins. Those are more flexible. If your knees just hover a little bit over the floor, you're welcome to come to the floor. But again, for your sake, if you feel like when you sit in this pose and your knees are high up, you're not going to get the benefit if you sit directly on the floor. If you sit up a little bit, you'll find that you can get a little more release of the hips. So find that support. Yeah, Lee, I was noticing that. You're upside down there. Press the hands to the floor, take the lower back in. Doing yoga from the ceiling. Take the lower back in, lift the chest up. Now, it's the same thing. So the hands are pressing into the floor. You can put fingertips, palms if you need to. Draw the lumbar spine in. Now, again, release from your inner groins towards the knees. But then at the same time, actively contract. Pull back from the outer knees back into the hips. Draw back to the sort of periphery to the core. Another way of looking at this is that the surface skin of the inner groin should release towards the knees, but more of the core of the bone itself should draw in back into the hip sockets. Take the lower back in, lift the chest. Good. If you're able to, if you need a strap, you can take your hands to your feet. Interlace the fingers or just grab the feet if you're able to. If this is difficult, you can get a strap. Again, draw the lower back in, lift the chest up. Let the shoulders descend. So there are a lot of different names for this pose. It's sometimes called butterfly pose because it looks like a butterfly wings. The classic term is Baddha Konasana, which translates to a bound angle pose. But it's sometimes referred to as cobbler's pose. And the reason it got that name is because if you travel to South Asia, to India, Thailand, Nepal, these areas, oftentimes you'll see the street cobblers. Usually they're teenage boys, and they're just trying to make some money, and they'll fix your shoes in the street. I had it done many times when I was in India and Nepal, and they put the shoes between their feet, and they start, they sew them up or they nail the soles on, that kind of thing. And I've mentioned this before in classes. Some of you have heard me talk about this, but someone did the research and thanked them for doing it, and found out that the cobblers of India and South Asia had a lower incidence of reproductive problems, urinary problems, problems with elimination. So this pose, and part of the reason, and some of you have heard me go through this diatribe here, where part of the reason I'm telling you this story is just to keep you in this pose for a while, because it's very good for the hips and for the legs. I also mentioned this is a great TV pose. If you're at the end of the day, instead of sitting on the couch watching TV, just sit on the floor and do Baddha Konasana for a little bit. Take your hands behind you again, fingertips if you need to, just for the last minute or so. Actively press the outer edges of the feet into each other, so you feel, again, that release the inner groins towards the knees, from the outer knees towards the hips. And I can tell just by looking that people are getting deeper over time, that a minute and a half ago, 2 minutes ago, your knees were higher up, and over time, there is that release of the hips and the inner groins. Final mention of this pose. There are very few poses mentioned in Light on Yoga in Iyengar's book that say that you can do a pose after you've eaten. This is one of the very few poses that you can do after you've eaten food. Keep the chest lifting. Good. Take your hands to the outsides of the knees. Gently use your arms to bring the legs together so the groins don't have to work, and then re-extend the legs. So there might be a little tiredness, a little rawness there now. Once again, Dandasana, really firm the legs. Press the thighs into the floor. Lower back in, open up the backs of the knees. Roll the inner groins intensely towards the floor. Good release. Let's go to child's pose. Clear your mats. Adho Mukha Virasana. Big toes together, knees apart. Now begin to observe sort of the connection of one pose to the next. And linking, one of the things we learn as teachers is this idea of linking ideas of one pose to another pose. Now coming into child's pose, you can feel the work of Baddha Konasana. Go on in. Reach the chest forward, reach your hands forward. Let the hips release towards the heels as the side ribs and the sternum extends forward. If the head doesn't cover the floor, you can get a block or a blanket. But again, embrace sort of the effect of Baddha Konasana, just the little work that we just did, and feel how it affects this pose, how it feeds into this pose. So that, again, the inner groins are softer. We did the work of the cross leg forward bend. So the outer hips, outer groins should be soft as well. So maybe even this pose, just after that little bit of work that we did, should feel maybe a little bit more settled, a little more free in the hips. And use that as a way to find more extension in the front chest. So how do you do when your legs are crossed and you bent forward? I'd recommend that you take the shoulders down the back. Do that here a little bit and you'll feel that there's more release in the front chest. Feel the skin of the back chest going towards the hips, back shoulders going towards the hips. As you feel the sternum release away from the hips, from the front groins, from the front hips. Good, downward dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Straighten your arms, straighten the legs. Keep the feet about shoulder width apart. Keep the hands about shoulder width apart. Lift your heels off the floor. Lift the heels up. Yeah, get the legs really, very, very straight. Now looking at your legs, from your vantage point, you should be able to see your legs pretty well. Look at them. Now look to see that the inner knees are pressing back more, are pressing back faster. As you lower the heels down, as you lengthen the spine and deepen into the pose, continue to press the inner knees and inner knees back. Your heels should not start to turn in this pose. Roll the inner knees and inner groins back so that the heels remain, the feet remain at least parallel with each other. If not, the heels maybe even a little bit away from each other. So you feel a more intense opening in the area of the inner knees. Soften the neck, let the head hang. Lindsay, move your hands in the other direction. Move your hands forward. Yeah, and if you're slipping, just grab the mat. Yeah, that's better already. So you have a little more extension, a little more distance between the hands and the feet so that the chest can find more space. Soften the neck, let the head hang. Good, now keeping the legs straight, gently, slowly begin to walk the hands back to the feet. Walk the hands back to the feet to come to standing forward bend. So keeping the legs straight, gently just walk the hands closer to the feet until you come to Ardha Uttanasana, keeping the legs straight again, even here. Press the inner knees back towards the wall behind you faster than the outer knees. Take your hands to your knees or shins and look forward. Your sternum is going in the direction of where you're looking. Your inner knees and inner groins are going towards the wall behind you. Keeping the legs straight, lower back down, take your hands to your elbows. Standing forward bend, keep the legs straight. Feel the peak of the inner groins rolling away from each other. Feel the hamstrings spreading away from each other as you do this pose. And if you're doing it correctly, you'll feel when you roll those hamstrings away from each other, you feel sort of more flesh being fed to the hips, to the lower back, to the buttocks flesh to give you more release of the torso. Change the cross of the arms. Soften the neck, make sure that the head hangs. Good, take your hands to your waist and gently come up. Come to standing in Tadasana. Bring the feet together. Bring, if you can, touch the heels and the mounds of the feet. If the legs don't work that way, that's okay. You have the legs a little bit apart, but if you can, have the heels and the mounds of the feet touch. Now lift all of your toes up. One of my teachers would give the instruction, try to scratch your shins with your toes. Just try. It's not going to work, of course, but that's the intensity that you want to have. Lift those toes up really intensely, like you're trying to scratch your own shins. Feel when you lift the toes up strongly like that, that the skin, again, the periphery of the legs, the skin of the shin should feel like it's going up. Lower the toes down, but keep that sense of the skin of the front of the legs going upwards. Now release the buttocks flesh to the floor. Feel Standard Tadasana, feel the buttocks flesh release towards the heels as, again, those inner groins and hamstrings are going away from each other. Straighten the legs, lift the chest. Now get out of your heads and get into the feet. Feel, again, the periphery of the feet, the skin of the feet contacting the floor. Get out of your heads, get into the bodies. Find that yuj, the root of yoga. Yuj means to join, to unite. And of course, the intention is to get a better connection of the mind with the body. So really take that idea literally and pay attention to the feeling of the feet on the floor. Feel the carpet, the wood, whatever it is under your feet, the mat. Now we're going to go to tree pose, Rikshasana. If you want to be near a wall, tree pose is this one. If you need to be near a wall, I would have your right side by the wall. We're going to take the left leg out first. I'm going to make... So find Tadasana. So I want to emphasize something here again, that sort of, we link commonalities and poses. So what's really happening when you take your leg up, you're going to take the left leg up first. When you take that left leg up, what you're doing is placing it into butterfly pose. Bring that left leg, place it at the inner right thigh. And you can be near a wall. Don't worry about trying to balance. Think more about sort of refining the pose now. You can have your hands on your waist, or hand at the wall, or palms together, whichever works best for you. Now, the same thing. Now, your straight leg. Think Tadasana again. Straighten that right leg and press the inner right knee towards the wall behind you. The straight leg knee towards the wall behind you. Now, your bent leg, so the left leg, your right leg is in Tadasana, your left leg will be in butterfly pose. Release from your groin towards the knee and pull back from the outer knee back into the hip. So open that right inner groin. From there, keep pressing the left foot into the inner right thigh, take the arms up. Press that left foot into the inner right thigh. Press the outer right thigh back into the foot and find once again this idea of butterfly pose in that bent leg. Take your left thigh and buttock forward more underneath you and release the left knee back. Lift both sides of the chest. Now those who feel stable I'm sorry, you can't see me, but bring the palms together to touch. If you can keep the arms straight, bring the palms together to touch. Lift the chest, lift the rib cage. Good, come back to prayer pose. Right knee forward, releasing out. Turn around, other side. From the hip, turn that right leg out. Go and place it up. High up on that inner left thigh. Now again, just pause here and really try to differentiate the work between the two legs. Your down leg, your left leg should be straight like Tadasana. The left inner knee should push back towards the wall behind you. The left buttock, both buttocks really, should descend towards that left heel. The right leg should feel like butterfly pose. Release from the groin towards the knee. Draw back from the outer knee back into the hip. Palms together your chest at the wall. If you feel stable, you can take the arms up, Urdhva Hastasana. Another expression that Iyengar uses is pose and repose. So once you're in the pose, you want to refine things. Find Tadasana in that left leg. Find butterfly pose in the right leg. From the groin towards the knee. Hit that right foot into the thigh, outer thigh back into the foot, and grow more towards the ceiling. If you can keep your arms straight, begin to touch the palms to each other. Like so. Lift the chest, lift the sternum. We come back to prayer pose. Left knee in, releasing out. Right knee in. Good. We're going to work on just a variety of standing poses. Have your mats, have your blocks as you need them. Blocks on either side of the back half of your mat. Separate your legs 4 to 5 feet apart. And keep your hands on your waist for a moment. Turn the left toes in, turn that right leg out. Now, even here with this right leg, there should be a similarity with this, right? Because there's this, what we call that external rotation of the leg. So you're in this place with the right leg, should feel not entirely too different from that work that you did in butterfly pose with that right leg. Now keep them both legs straight. Take your right arm up. As I often request, take your right hip that way. Take your right hip towards the left hip as your right hand reaches towards the right. So this hip is going away, away as I reach that right arm. Find the shin, find the block. Left hand on your waist. Now even here, just like Baddha Konasana, here there should be a lengthening from the inner groin to inner knee to the inner foot, and then a drawing back from the outer arch of the foot, outer shin, outer thigh, towards the hip, a long horseshoe action of that front leg. And use that when you draw from, especially from the outer leg, from the outer ankle to the outer right thigh, use that to hit the right thigh more forward, more underneath you. So you can find more space, more turning of the chest. Good, take that left arm up. You should feel as if your right thigh is pushing forward while your left thigh is pushing back. Your left thigh should push towards the wall that's behind you. Your right thigh should push towards the wall that's forward of you. And again, when you get this, you'll begin to find more lightness and lift in the torso. Press that back foot in the floor, come up. Hands to your waist. Right toes in, left leg out. Turn that whole left leg out. And again, it should feel not entirely dissimilar, even though the leg is straight compared to bent for butterfly pose. The position of the leg and the hip socket should feel similar. And great, Lindsay, I'm glad you have the chair there. I have my chair with me. Anyone who needs a chair, feel free to use that instead of a shin or a block. Take your left arm up, both legs straight, and really put intention, attention, intention into drawing the left hip towards the right hip as you reach your left hand away. Cut this left hip more and more that way. Left hip more and more towards the right hip. Find the shin, find the block. Now this front leg thigh, your left thigh should push forward towards the wall in front of you. And if you're doing it right, you immediately feel that the chest begins to roll. This left thigh should feel like it's pushing towards the back of the room. Behind you, towards the wall behind you. These two legs are working in different directions to feed into the space to find that room in the hips. Keep turning the chest and the abdomen up. If you feel stable, take the right arm up. Cut the left hip towards the right hip. Reach your left rib cage away from the left rib cage away from the left hip. Keep turning the chest up. Pull from the top hand, come up and out. Good, hands to your waist. Keep parallel. Right toes in, left leg out. When you begin to bend, we're just going to take the legs to warrior pose legs. When you even the action of bending the leg, feed from your inner groin towards the knee. Feel like you're releasing the flesh from the inner groin towards the knee. And then when you want to start to sort of put the brakes on the knee to stop it from bending, it happens more from the outside of the knee. In fact, come up, do this 2 more times at least, and see if you can turn again these words into something that you can feel in your body. Release from the groin towards the knee, but then when you want to stop that knee from bending, draw from the outer knee back into the hip. 1 more time. And do it with awareness. So your chest should be parallel to the TV screen for most of you. So you don't want to be facing that right leg. You want to be, yeah. So now go ahead and bend that leg again. Release from the groin towards the knee. Don't lose the awareness of the back leg. When you're stopping the bending, do it from the outer knee. Good. Let's do the other side. Right toes in, left leg out. So this is more just sort of a mental practice, right? Just release from your inner left groin towards the inner left knee. And then when you want to stop that leg from bending, do it more from the outer knee back towards the hip. And then do it another 2 times slowly and see if you can, like I said, turn the words into something that feels real to you. From the inner groin towards the knee. To stop that knee from bending, draw slightly back from the outer knee towards the hip. 3 times. Back to the other side. This time take the arms up, Urdhva. So sort of Virabhadrasana, one arms, and Virabhadrasana, two legs. So keep pressing the outer left heel on the floor. When you bend your right leg again, release from the groin towards the knee, and to stop that leg from bending, draw back from the outer knee back into the hip. You should almost feel like there's movement happening even though you're not really moving. Good, take the arms out. The inner elbow should aim towards the ceiling. Virabhadrasana, warrior two pose. Good, left hand to your waist, right elbow to the right knee. Just like triangle pose, cut your right hip towards the left hip. Draw from the outer bent leg knee, right knee towards the right hip. So you feel a little lift that happens in the inner left thigh. Take your left arm up and over, side angle pose. Press the elbow into the knee to encourage more release of the torso. But even here, it's a similar thing as in triangle pose. This bent leg thigh should push forward underneath you. The back straight leg thigh should push back. It's what we call it. It's a variation of sort of compacting the hips. Great, Casey. It looks good. Lengthen from your outer left foot to the left fingertips, left fingernails. Straighten that left arm. If you want to go deeper, just for the last little bit, you can. But if this aerial arm is bent, you lose connection to the chest. The aerial arm needs to be straight to integrate with the torso. There it is. Press the back foot in the floor. Come up. Hands to your waist. Right toes in, left leg out. Take the arms up. Now stand intensely on that back heel. Release from your inner left groin to your inner left knee to bend that leg and put the brakes on the knee. Stop the bending of the knee by drawing back from the outer left knee towards the hip. Take the arms out. So again, it should feel like there's movement, even though we're not moving, there should feel as if there's movement underneath the skin. Release from the groin towards the knee. Draw back from the outer knee back into the hip. Inner elbow should aim towards the ceiling, soften the shoulders. Good, right hand to your waist, left elbow to left knee for a moment. And again, begin to draw from your outer left knee towards the hip to bring the left hip farther towards the right hip. Left hip deeper and deeper towards the right hip. And you'll find that there's a little more lightness in the inner back leg groin and the more grounding of the outer back leg foot. Take your right arm up and over. Just like triangle pose, your bent leg thigh, your front leg thigh should push forward more underneath you. Your back leg thigh should push towards the wall behind you. Those who want to go deeper, you can. But again, notice that a loss of engagement of the upper arm, when it bends, you lose connection with the chest. You need to straighten out that right arm to encourage more release of the torso. Good, press the back foot on the floor, come up. Straighten the leg, hands to your waist. Feet parallel. Walk the feet together. Stand in Tadasana for a moment. Straighten out the legs. Lift the chest. We're going to go to revolved triangle pose, Parivrtta Trikonasana. We're going to do it together. I'm not going to give much in the way of instruction beforehand. I'm going to be turning around so it's actually easier. You might find if you're facing the screen right now, you might want to turn around and listen. Once you get in the pose, you'll turn around, you'll see the screen. So we're going to start. Again, I'm turning around. Whatever you choose to do is up to you. You'll see what I'm doing. You'll separate your legs first. Turn your left toes well in, turn your right leg out, so your whole body now turns towards the front leg. So now we're in this place where instead of we're more like warrior one pose than warrior two pose. So the whole body is facing this front leg. Now take your left arm up. Left arm up. Yep. Right hand stays on the waist, left arm up. Now make a connection from your left heel. Press the left shin back so you really feel heavy in the left heel. Lengthen from the left heel to the left fingertips. Already get long in the whole left flank of the body. Get as long as you can. Reach from the left outer heel to the left fingertips. Now begin to bend forward. Dive that arm forward. Reach that left arm forward. And then find the block, shin inside or outside of the foot. Take that left hand down in the shin, the block, whatever support you need. Now you're going to begin to rotate the torso. Some of you, most of you, if you were facing away from the screen, now you're going to turn towards the screen. If you're unsure, you can see me. Take your right arm up. Both legs are straight. So your left leg is behind you, but you're twisting. Sorry, your right leg is behind you, you're twisting towards the right. Sorry, left leg is behind you, twist towards the right. Turn the abdomen, turn the chest, take your left rib cage farther back, and then finally broaden the arms away from each other to deepen the twist. Now, interestingly enough, you're going to feel a similar thing that we did when we were in that cross-legged position sitting down. Those outer hips, outer glutes are getting a lot of work right now. Good. To come out of the pose, turn towards the floor, and then carefully come up and out. Feet parallel. Going directly to the other side. Turn your right toes well in. Your right toes well in, your left leg out. So excellent, good, Gus. Your whole body is turned towards that front leg. Have your hands on your waist so you get a sense of where the hips are in space. Again, if you're unsure, you can look at me. So the whole body is turned. This back leg, inner thigh, inner groin, your back leg, your right hamstring should be rolling from in to out. Take your right arm up. Now press that right shin back so you feel that right heel really engaged to the floor, and then lengthen from the right heel to the right fingertips. But as long as you can, begin to dive that right arm forward. Reach it forward, and then find the block, the shin, inside or outside of the foot. Again, now the rotation begins to happen. The more you try to turn from right to left, the more the back leg wants to give up. So you have to keep re-engaging this back leg, pressing that right shin back as you twist from right to left. Take that left arm up. Parivrtta Trikonasana, revolved triangle pose. And again, so we're accessing the same area, the outer gluteal muscles that we did when we were in that seated cross-legged position. See if you can feel some of that. Don't let the neck give up. Keep the spine even all the way to the base of the skull. Much better. Turn towards the floor. Turn towards the floor to carefully come up and out. Tadasana. Catch your breath, relax your face, relax your throat. Briefly watch, just relax for a second and watch me. I hate to say it, we're doing this one more time, both sides. So this time I'm going to have you take your arms out to the sides. When I go into the pose, what I often see is when we go into the pose, we sort of, the torso gets stuck behind, so we don't really twist in the pose. So I'm going to have you with your arms by your sides. Maybe it's easier for you to see from this position. This is my front leg, but I'm leading with my opposite back rib cage. So instead of taking my arm forward and coming into pose, I'm leading with the chest. The whole back rib cage comes in and forward to bring me in. So instead of sort of just taking the arm down and not twisting, I'm letting my back rib cage do the rotation as I enter the pose. Could you see a difference?
Yep.
It's a thumbs up. Okay, cool. Let's give it a try. And we're only doing it one more time. I'm not going to run. I don't want to wear you guys out too much. Now separate your legs, face away from the screen if that would be helpful for me as well. Separate your legs, turn your left toes in, turn your right leg out. Left toes in, right leg out. Good. Now this time take your arms out to the sides. Out to the side. So you're still facing your front leg. Your torso is facing that right leg. The arms are out to the sides. Now, when you begin to go into the pose, instead of reaching your left hand towards the right foot, I want you to take your left rib cage in and lead the pose from the left rib cage. There it is. I see so much better already. Yeah. Left rib cage turns. Instead of the hand just reaching, you're really getting your spine to twist already before you go into the pose. Good. Now from there, finding that fortification, re-straighten the legs, begin to turn the abdomen more from left to right. Turn the chest more deeply. Turn the abdomen. Reach that aerial arm higher up towards the ceiling. Good. To come out, again, just turn towards the floor. Turn towards the floor to carefully come up and out. That was a lot better. I could see a big difference in the pose because at least that rotation is happening before you begin to come down. Final side. Right toes in, left leg out. Turn the whole body towards that left leg. Arms are straight and out to the sides. So
Your right leg, your right shin is pushing back, but your right rib cage is going to lead the momentum of the pose. You keep resisting with the right shin, but let the right rib cage, as if the arm is being begrudgingly moved. Let the rib cage lead. Go on in. There it is. Excellent, Kathleen. Yep. Let that left arm go up. Straighten both legs. And find again that resistance between the back leg, which wants to give up. The more you try to turn, the more that back leg feels like it needs to give up. You have to let those two things happen at the same time. Keep pressing that right shin back, but still turn your abdomen from right to left. Good. To come out, turn towards the floor. Carefully come up and out. Tadasana. Relax the face, relax the throat. We're going to the last of the standing poses. After this, we're on the ground. We're doing half moon pose, Ardha Chandrasana. If you want to have your back near support, your back near a wall, you can. I'm not going to do much in the way of demonstration. We're going to do it together. It's up to you however you choose. If you want to have your back to the wall, I would recommend it. If you need a block, you're welcome to have it. Separate your legs, facing the screen. Now turn your left toes in, turn the right leg out. Keep your left hand on your waist. Bend your right leg and take your right hand down the block or to the floor. And just stop right here. Now, as soon as we do this much, automatically the chest starts to close towards the floor. So see if you can feel a lot of stuff we did in the last few standing poses in triangle pose where that bent leg thigh is pushing more underneath you already. You're already turning the chest more upwards towards the ceiling. Now step the back leg in, move the hand forward, going up. The right hand should be directly below the right shoulder. Straighten out the right leg, lengthen through the inner leg. Even here, it's like you're trying to get long through this inner area leg, both legs. Lengthen through both inner legs towards the inner ankles. This aerial leg again, from the inner groin towards the inner ankle, draw back from the outer heel back into the hip socket. If you feel stable, take the arm up. Keep rolling your right rib cage towards the screen. Feel that right thigh pushing more forward and underneath you as you extend that left arm up. Good, take your hand to your waist. Bend that right leg, carefully release and come out. Good, final side. Right toes in, turn the whole left leg out. Good, bend your left leg, take your hand to the floor. Right hand should stay in your waist. Now pause already, before you go into the pose, begin already to get that alignment. Feel your bent leg thigh pushing more forward and more underneath you. So you feel that the torso of the chest is more supported. Step the back leg in, move the hand, going up. So even way back in the first poses we did, in the first butterfly pose, release from your inner groin towards the knee, pull back from the outer ankle back in the hip. With both legs, release from the aerial groin towards the heel, from the outer heel back towards the hip. Horseshoe action of both legs. Look for that commonality, that similarity between the two poses, between all the poses that we've done. Take your left arm up, sorry, right arm. And even here, your left hip should go away from the left rib cage. Left hip away from the left rib cage. Good, take your hand to your waist, bend that left leg. Carefully releasing, come out. Woo. Tadasana once again. Straighten the legs, lift the chest. Good, come back to sitting on your mats with your legs extended the way we did at the beginning of class. If you use a strap, make sure you have one near you. So have your feet about shoulder width apart. Have your props near you, have your blocks, your blankets near you. You may or may not need them. So we're going to go to Janu Shirshasana, one leg extended pose. And again, I want you to see sort of the commonality and sort of linking previous poses to this. So you might want to, again, you might want to sit up on a couple folded blankets or something. You can decide as you go. You're going to take your left hand, the inside of the left knee, scoop the inside of the left knee, pull that knee from inside out, take it out to the side. Now we're going to pull the foot in, almost like, again, like you're doing butterfly pose, Baddha Konasana. The only difference now is to see, and we did that, I think, last week or the week before, see if you can turn the top of the foot towards the floor so the heel is pointing more towards the ceiling. And the reason we're doing this is to keep neutrality in the area between the upper leg bone and the shin bones. So that there's a reduction in torque of the knee. So the femur bones and the shin bones are agreeing with each other. Take both hands to the floor, fingertips if you need to. Take the lower back end of the chest. From very, very low in the spine, shift to your lumbar spine, your abdomen, from left to right towards that straight leg. Good. Take your right hand to the outside of the right knee, left hand with or without the strap to the right foot. If you need the strap, get it. If you feel like you're having to bend legs. Now, I want you to notice very quickly that as soon as you went over, and I've talked about this, that this bent leg thigh probably wanted to come with you. This whole outer thigh wanted to roll up and feed towards the lower back. See if you can ask this bent leg thigh to continue to externally rotate. Feel like the bent leg quadricep is going behind you towards the back of the room as you're press the right hand down, take your left rib cage in more. Press the right hand down, draw that left back bottom rib cage into the body more. Keep the chest opening. Now, it's a push-you-pull-me kind of thing where you're pushing that right hand into the floor and pulling with the left hand, pushing with the right hand, pulling with the left hand to come forward until you feel like you've found as much, you can rotate no more, and then both hands come to the foot. Strap. But again, notice in each, and it's this observation, a moment by moment observation of what that back leg is doing and how there is just a desire for that back leg to feel like it needs to do something. So it wants to roll with the lower back. It's up to you to sort of tell that bent leg thigh to soften and roll in the opposite direction, not towards the back, roll away from you. And there's a little bit of a shift in the abdomen. Looking at yourself in your mind's eye, looking at your body from above, is your left rib cage higher than your right? You might have to draw like the back rib cage in so the back chest is more parallel to the floor. And then come back to the Ardha position. And then take the arms up. Good, back down. Hands to the outside of the knee, extend the leg. Other side. So grab behind your right inner knee. Pull the knee from inside out. So the hands doing the work, the legs really just being receptive. You pull this foot in and you turn the top of the foot more towards the floor so that heel, again, aims to the ceiling to neutralize any torque that might be happening in the knee. And then hands on the floor behind you. If this knee is floating, you can get a block or some support if you need it. Press both hands down, take the lower back in. Straighten out that right leg. Really press the right thigh, right inner groin down. For a moment, take both arms up. Just feel the back ribs, the side ribs, the sternum lift. Now begin to come forward. You're going to take your left hand to the outside of the knee, right hand to the foot. And notice as soon as you made that movement that this bent leg thigh began to come again, connect to your lower back, began to reach in this direction. See if you can tell this thigh, your bent leg thigh and quadricep to go to the wall behind you. Now press your left hand down into the floor to lift the chest, pull with your right hand on the foot to rotate the torso. And then keep doing this. Push with the left hand, pull with the right. Push with the left, pull with the right to revolve the torso and make it more in line over that straight leg. Eventually, both hands can come to the foot to the strap. Keep shifting your abdomen, your navel, your belly button from left to right as you extend. And again, in your mind's eye, sort of look at yourself from above and ask yourself, is the back chest level with the floor? Or is my sort of right rib cage higher than the left? Can I revolve the abdomen and the torso to make the back chest more parallel to the floor? Good, and again, gently release. Take the arms up. Feel this, the back ribs lift up and away from the floor. Good, take your hands down. You're getting to the outside of this knee to help bring it in. Extend the leg. Now, time is flying. We're going to do standard Paschimottanasana, standard seated forward bend as far as you comfortably can. Bring the feet together. Bring the feet to touching. Heels, mounds of the feet if you're able to. Depending on your flexibility, what I don't want to see is this. Come to the Arda position, even if you need as much strap leverage as you need to get to a place where you can get the lumbar spine to be drawn in and the chest to remain lifted. Take the lower back in, lift the chest. Use that connection of the hands to the strap to the feet to access this lumbar spine more. And as we did at the very beginning of class, roll the inner knees and inner groins down. Press the inner backs of the knees towards the floor. Take the lower back in. And now it's as if the chest is resisting. It wants to stay up and lifted, and the arms are refusing. My arms are drawing me forward or pulling me forward by going away from each other. Hike your hands up the strap a little bit. So again, instead of sort of letting the chest and the head collapse, keep the chest and the head lifting as the arms draw away from each other to come forward in the pose. If you can take your hands to your feet, you're welcome to. But resist this tendency to lead with the head. Keep the chest open as you extend forward into Paschimottanasana. Inner knees, inner groins should descend intensely towards the floor. There should be a spreading from the inner back knee towards the outer back knee. And notice that when you're doing that stuff with the legs, that it slowly begins to feed more space into the lumbar. The skin of the upper back chest should go down towards the hips, not towards the base of the skull. And then back to the Arda position. Take the arms up. Release them down. So we're going to move to a very gentle variation of bridge pose, Chatushpadasana. Have your block, your support with you. Whatever, if you have folded blankets or towels, whatever it is you're using, you're going to come to lying down on your backs with your legs bent. But I mean this gentle. We've done a lot of forward bending. This is just sort of a way to open the chest and release the lower back after some of the hip work and forward bend work. So with the arms down by your sides, have the palms facing up. I know there's a tendency to want to look towards the screen. Just look towards the ceiling and listen to my instructions instead of trying to look. So the head should rest on the floor. You shouldn't have the head supported. Soften the neck, soften the throat, looking towards the ceiling, keeping the face soft. Press the outer arms into the floor, press the feet down, lift the hips up. Keep that softness in the throat, in the neck and the head. Roll the outer shoulders more underneath you. So we're going without support first. Press the feet down, lift the hips and tailbone up. The arms, outer arms should press into the floor to lift the chest. The feet should press into the floor to lift the hips. Keep again the throat, the jaw, the tongue soft and receptive. And then find your support. Place it underneath the sacrum at whatever height feels appropriate. So as you're resting here in the support, put more awareness into relaxing the face, the throat, the jaw, the tongue. Allow that area to be receptive. Receive the circulation, the increased circulation that's happening in this area. Observe the capacity of the chest. Because of the support you're on, there's more expansion of the rib cage. And sort of appreciate that, digest that. Again, let the body find the space through the use of support. As you're lying here, even the throat should feel like it's widening. The sides of the Adam's apple, the skin, again, from the periphery to the core, the skin of the throat, of the neck should feel like the right side is going to the right, the left side is going to the left, and then you can penetrate a little more and feel almost like the musculature is doing a similar thing. This last minute in this pose, put a little more emphasis in really trying to be spacious and receptive in the area of the base of the skull. Let all the muscles go, almost as if you're trying to reduce the connection between the spine and the skull. Disintegrate that connection. Soften the nerves, feel those cranial nerves along the base of the skull. Find space. Now from here, press the feet down, gently lift the hips up, move the support out from under you. As you come out, release the buttocks flesh towards the heels so that the lower back finds space. And then wrap your arms around your shins. Yep, hug the legs. You can roll a little bit to the left and to the right. Happy baby's pose, hands to the feet, knees towards the floor, feet towards the ceiling. And again, observe in these sort of passive stretches what happens to the area of the hips. And we've done a lot of work here. So your awareness and sensitivity in the area of the hips, the gluteals, the inner outer groins should be stronger. You should have a better sense. And then release, get yourselves ready for Shavasana. If you'd rather have your legs up the wall, you're welcome to do that. Or just bring yourself to corpse pose in some way. So take the time to create space for this pose. You should feel like the legs are reaching a little bit away from the body. Again, that buttocks flesh should be going a little bit away from the lower back. The arms too, instead of feeling very close to the body, let them go just a little bit away. So there's space between the upper chest and the armpits a little bit. So I open the class with the mentioning of what's known as the periphery to the core. Iyengar, BKS Iyengar would say, when it comes to Shavasana, the only way to truly relax, the only way to truly find release in the body is to work from the periphery to the core, from the outside to the inside. So as I asked you to do at the beginning of class, bring your awareness to the surface of the skin. Start with the face this time. Really relax the skin, the surface skin of the face, the forehead, the eyebrows, the temples. Even the gaze of the eyes, with your eyes closed, they shouldn't be, the eyes shouldn't be looking upwards towards the brain. Try to set the gaze of the eyes a little bit downwards towards the body, because that will encourage more quieting of the mind. But then bring your again, that awareness to the surface of the skin of the torso, of the arms, and feel the skin of the torso relax. The arms, the forearms, the upper arms. The skin around the hips, the skin around the thighs, the legs, the shins, the feet, all softening, and then work just below the skin. Feel those superficial muscles, the surface muscles, begin to let go more. And use sort of the tiredness that you've acquired over the practice. Along with that tiredness came a stronger sensitivity to the body. You're more in touch with your body than you were an hour ago. Take advantage of that now and see if you can penetrate a little more deeply, release a little bit more completely. And you're moving again, sort of from the skin to the musculature. Eventually you get into those deeper muscles and you tell the muscles that are connecting closer to the bone and ask them to begin to let go a little bit from the bone. And then even the bones themselves. Feel almost as if they're flexible and gravity is pulling the bones to bend a little bit more towards the floor. Release that deeply. Now begin to let your inhalations be a little bit longer. And as soon as you do this, you'll notice now that there's a reverse of that movement. Instead of from the periphery to the core, you begin to feel that you're moving from the core back outwards to the periphery. As you let your inhalations be a little bit longer and fuller, your sensitivity goes back to the surface of the skin and outwards. Move the toes, move the fingers a little bit, get back in your bodies. And then from here, you can bend your legs, feet to the floor. Gently roll to your sides. Stay there for a few breaths. Stay on your right side. If there's any strain in the back, you can bend the legs closer to the chest. And then to come up, gently press the hands down. To come to sitting. So that was a lot of work. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for putting, I know the standing poses are challenging. I know that work is there, hopefully, but I always mention this, sort of observe how you feel for the rest of the day, or just immediately walking around, how much looser your hips feel. It's you know, the observation of cause and effect can be part of the reason why we keep doing yoga. But thank you guys so much. Namaste.
Namaste.